Hi there, I'm Adam Cook. Thank you for joining us for Telil 24/7. On this week's show, we're going to take you to Ald's Cove, where there have been concerns about traffic near the local Big Stop. And as well, we'll take you to the town of Mulgrave, where some exciting things are happening at the town's former school building. And we'll have our feature interview with the executive director of the Strait Area Chamber of Commerce, Amanda Mumbercat. But we're going to begin this week's show with an extensive look at an issue that's been popping up quite a bit on social media and at coffee shops over the past week. It's all about how to support female candidates for municipal politics. Richmond councillors had some interesting things to say that have gotten a lot of people talking over the past week. We're going to tell you what they feel about an upcoming leadership school for female municipal candidates. But first of all, we're going to get some background on exactly what that school is. It's a co-partnership between the Cape Breton Partnership and a group called Government Focus. Focus stands for Female Objectives Cape Breton Unama'ki Strait. And it's made up of several municipal councils and First Nations communities across Cape Breton Island. The mayor of the town of Port Hawkesbury, Brenda Chisholm Beaton, is the co-chair of Government Focus. Here she is to explain exactly how the conference came about.
A group of women got together to do a panel for women in leadership that was hosted by Cape Breton Voices in Sydney. I was one of the participants that were invited to join on a panel of women talking about their experiences as elected officials. Some of the women represented municipalities, some of the women represented First Nation communities, as well as some provincial and federal female elected officials as well.
Mayor Chisholm Beaton is the co-chair of the Government Focus project, and among the people she's working with are several representatives of First Nations communities around Cape Breton Island, including Budladek First Nation band councillor Anita Basque. Chisholm Beaton feels that it's important to have this partnership with the Mi'kmaq communities around Cape Breton Island, as many women hoping to run for band councils, in addition to municipal councils, don't always have the resources at their fingertips to be able to do so.
You know, First Nations women are able to run both for municipal government as well as for band councils elections. So we thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if we had a local women's leadership school, if we focused on local government, and if we expanded that catchment area to include First Nations local government as well as municipal local government, let's do that school together. So as all these concepts kind of mashed together, that kind of formed the basis of what we're doing for May 1st and May 2nd.
Chisholm Beaton is hoping that the Government Focus initiative can help build on a strong legacy already being carved out in the last 5 to 10 years by many female candidates who have been elected to office locally. Among those, Chisholm Beaton herself, who was first elected as a town councillor for Port Hawkesbury in 2012 and became the mayor in 2016. These also include Inverness Warden Betty Ann Macquarie, the mayor of Antigonish, Laurie Boucher, and Pearline Mofford, who is a municipal councillor for the county of Victoria. Chisholm Beaton points to one of her own experiences that happened just recently at a hockey game where she happened to have a couple of her children playing, when somebody came up and showed her how her own mayor's position is influencing a new generation of young girls.
Both of my children are well entrenched in the hockey culture of Cape Breton, so I oftentimes find myself at the rink with the kids. So one day, it was short, like I might have been mayor for maybe about a year at that point, so it would have been around 2017. A friend of mine flipped me a picture. He texted me a picture and said, I just wanted to share this with you. It was a picture of his young daughter who was 5, and she was sitting at a desk, and the desk was full of papers, and he said, I'm just wondering if you would like an assistant because Sadie just declared that she was playing mayor.
With the Female Leadership School scheduled in May, as well as a gallery showing at the Port Hawkesbury Civic Centre that ties into International Women's Day on March the 8th, Chisholm Beaton is hoping that a new generation of potential female leaders could emerge as a result of these initiatives. She shows her own experience with her own children, Finley and Alexis, when she was acclaimed and sworn in as mayor in 2016 and got to wear Port Hawkesbury's official mayor's chain for the first time. She recalls how this experience impacted her children and hopes it will continue to do so in the years to come.
And just having my two children at the time, witness that, I can't even articulate the looks on their faces. It's about reimagining the future, reimagining the way we participate in politics, and just, I think it's just a wonderful thing because change is great. Change doesn't have to be scary. I think it's just going to continue to enrich the lives of our communities by adding more diverse voices at our council tables.
So now that you know a little more about the Government Focus Initiative to try to train female candidates for this fall's municipal elections, let's take you to the regular monthly meeting of Richmond Municipal Council in Arishat and hear what a couple of councillors and the warden had to say about all of this. Now, the conversation was spurred on by a letter from Mayor Chisholm Beaton suggesting that Richmond Council consider spending $250 to help sponsor at least one and possibly more female candidates that could take part in the training sessions in Port Hawkesbury in May. However, as you're about to hear, Councillor James Goyesh didn't necessarily agree with the tactics being used by the Government Focus project.
And I have nothing against anybody presenting themselves to run for any kind of government position, be it provincial, municipal, provincial, or federal. And I'm not against the gender, race, color, or cultural background, whatever the case may be. They have the same right as anybody else to present themselves for municipal council. But I don't agree, and I don't think it's would be right for me to ask the taxpayers of Richmond County to pay to encourage somebody to run against me in the October election. I think it would be very irresponsible on my part to do that, plus about that kind of stupid.
While Goyesh noted that several female candidates have run for Richmond County in the past, some of them going on to become wardens, such as Gail Johnson and Madeline Libas, and others serving for many years in positions like deputy wardens, such as Shirley McNamara, he said that these candidates paid for their own nomination to go forward, and he expects the current round of female and male candidates for Richmond County and other municipalities to do the same.
I think if they want to run, they have the right the same as anybody else, and I got nothing against that. But I don't intend to utilize taxpayers' dollars to encourage anybody to run in municipal elections this October or at any time.
And it wasn't just Goyesh that expressed these feelings. District 4 Councillor Gilbert Boucher also expressed his concern at the idea of sponsoring candidates to take part in the Female Leadership School.
I'm not willing to spend the taxpayers' money to have somebody sit in a classroom for a couple of days. If they want to get into politics, they can do the same thing I did. Put their money up front and throw your hat in the ring.
Because of the concerns aired by Councillors Boucher and Goyesh, and because of the absence of Councillor Jason McLean, a suggestion by Deputy Warden Alvin Martel that the county use its website to advertise for potential candidates that it could sponsor for this initiative basically died on the order paper. Following the meeting, Richmond Warden Brian Marchand said that Goyesh and Boucher had the right to express their own opinions on the issue. However, he added that he would have been more inclined to suggest that sponsorship should go ahead for this program in May if it included both women and men trying to run for council.
The comment that I did make, maybe it should be opened up to men and women, would be my comment, but it is strictly kind of listed as a women's school.
Now, there will be some representation from Richmond County going to the Female Leadership School in May in Port Hawkesbury. Budladek First Nation has agreed to spend a combined $500 to send 2 candidates from that community to go to the leadership school. However, if anybody else from Richmond County wants to be able to attend and to take part, they will have to spend their own money, thanks to the decision made by Municipal Council last week. In Arishat, for Telil 24/7, I'm Adam Cook. Last spring, Irving reopened its popular Ald's Cove Big Stop. It had demolished the building that had housed the business since 1984, the previous fall. And many in the Strait area were very happy to see the new building open up, as were many in the trucking community across the Maritimes.
However, officials in the town of Mulgrave are suggesting that since the Big Stop reopened this past spring, there have been some issues that they'd like to bring to the Minister of Transportation and to the RCMP as well. Now, as you can see just behind me, there's a turning lane that takes motorists off Highway 104 in Ald's Cove and sends them up the hill towards the town of Mulgrave. However, Mulgrave officials have been saying that since the Ald's Cove Big Stop reopened with its new building this past spring, there have been many issues reported to them of motorists trying to make that left turn into Mulgrave, but seeing large tractor trailers coming at them from the other direction as they attempt to get into the Big Stop. CAO of the town of Mulgrave, Darlene Berthier-Sampson, told us that she had brought up the issue with the Minister of Transportation, Lloyd Hines, at a meeting in Guysborough this past August, and shortly after that, Berthier-Sampson had her own near miss at this turning lane when she was trying to turn left to get into the town of Mulgrave, but found herself staring down the barrel of an 18-wheeler coming in the other direction, trying to get into the Big Stop. So Berthier-Sampson and Mayor Ralph Hadley are hoping that Mulgrave officials will be able to put a stop to this as soon as possible.
As a result of these concerns, CAO Berthier-Sampson has pointed out that she has been in contact with a number of different officials. These include the Minister of Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal, Lloyd Hines, as well as Irving's Regional Manager for Atlantic Canada, and the Provincial and Atlantic Trucking Associations.
During this month's regular monthly town council meeting in Mulgrave, Staff Sergeant David Moran of the Inverness District RCMP's Port Hawkesbury Detachment told town officials that he has been hearing concerns about people who are trying to make that left-hand turn into the town of Mulgrave from Ald's Cove, only to have tractor trailers and other large trucks coming to them from the other side. Staff Sergeant Moran said that he hoped to be able to continue dialogue with the town of Mulgrave on this issue, and in the meantime, the town has been able to speak with Minister Lloyd Hines once again, as well as members of the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure Renewal, to help alleviate the problem. Mayor Ralph Hadley has told reporters that the department has launched a traffic flow survey as well as an investigation as to exactly how to best handle the traffic that's coming into the Big Stop and heading through Ald's Cove as well. And they're hoping to have the results of that survey very, very soon. Reporting from Ald's Cove, for Telil 24/7, I'm Adam Cook.
Here at Telil 24/7, we're very, very proud of the people within our coverage area that are setting up and maintaining businesses. Some employ just a couple of people, some are self-employed, some employ dozens and even hundreds. Whatever the case may be, they all have one thing in common. They all put their own skin in the game and make their own investment to make sure that it happens. And they've all probably had some conversation with our next guest. She is the Executive Director of the Strait Area Chamber of Commerce, and we've brought her here to speak a little bit about how the Strait Area economy is doing these days. We're pleased to welcome Amanda Mumberket to Telil 24/7. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thank you, Adam. Happy to be here.
Pleasure to have you here. We've got a lot to talk about.
Yes.
So I wanted to begin by asking you about the services that any Chamber of Commerce, but in particular the Strait Area Chamber of Commerce, provide, just in case some of our viewers might not understand the concept of a Chamber of Commerce. So what do you folks do for the business community around here?
So I can tell you right off the bat, the Chamber of Commerce is an international brand. There are chambers of commerce that exist across the world. And so we're really proud to be part of that kind of a network. It's a network that's hundreds of years old and really stems from the need for businesses to kind of band together to achieve common goals. So in particular, our Chamber of Commerce, called the Strait Area Chamber, we have about 380 members right now, so we've pretty well doubled in size in the last couple of years, which is really great. And we have business members in Victoria County, Inverness County, many members in Richmond. About 25% of our membership is here in Richmond County, the town of Port Hawkesbury, and along the northern edge of the Strait of Canso. So Guysborough through to Mulgrave, Harbour Boucher area. And really what we try to bring to members, our value proposition to the business community, stems around 6 key areas. The first is, I would say, advocacy. So a lot of what we do is we advocate on matters of political, social, or economic importance to the business community. And you'll see our, Strait Area Chamber of Commerce speaking out on issues, on those matters from time to time. And really, when we do speak out, those issues are coming from our business members. And so that's part of a big part of what we do. And because we are a business membership-driven organization, we have the power to do that without fear of repercussion. So we really take our job as advocates seriously with government in particular. So in addition to that, we obviously do a pile of networking events. We've just come out of our inaugural FemPower Women Leading Change event, which was held in Baddeck and was really open to women all across northern Nova Scotia. We had a fantastic turnout, and probably one of my favorite things that we've ever done, because the energy in the room of all these women in business leadership positions, women in community leadership positions, they were just so excited to be able to share their stories together and hear from one another and get that feeling of we can help each other be better. So that was a really cool event. We have our annual State of the Strait coming up, which is a really cool snapshot of what's the business community looking like right now. So we have our keynote that we've announced recently was Glenn Williams from Authentic Seacoast, who does a fantastic piece of business based out of Guysborough, but has branched out all over the place. We'll have an update from the folks at Ski Cape Smoky, so that's a really cool project. We'll have an update as well from a project here in Richmond County. So we really try to get a good geographic mix of projects from all over the region to give us the pulse of what's happening in the business community. In addition to those kinds of networking events, we have our annual awards galas in the spring and the fall. We were, really excited to be celebrating the Jack Hartery Lifetime Achievement Award in prior year with Norma and Herman Boudreau, and those are just meaningful. They're very meaningful presentations because there's nothing quite like being recognized by your peers for achieving success and integrity in business. So we're really excited about our AGM coming up and what that's going to result in terms of awards. So we're always asking people keep an eye out for nominations, because it's really important that we get a good broad spectrum of nominations. So obviously networking is a big part of what we do. We have a lot of smaller events that we do as well, series of events. We call them Small Halls, Big Ideas, and we'll take a particular topic or speaker on the road, and we'll hit Richmond County, we'll hit the town of Port Hawkesbury, we'll hit Victoria County, and we'll hit Inverness County with this really cool content. So we're all about bringing good information to our members. And of course, in addition to that, the Chamber works a lot on promotions for business. So we kind of are a bit of a referral network in amongst each other, And so when people are calling our office looking for, I need an electrician, or I need someone to do video work for me. And so we pull from our membership. And so it's really valuable being part of that kind of network. And so in addition to that, the Chamber of Commerce is unique in that it can offer discounts for businesses on really mission-critical things that they might need. So a lot of businesses struggle with employee retention and attraction, and so one of the things that we can help them with there is we have a group insurance plan that is a national Chambers plan in Canada with over 30,000 members in it, and as a result, it's a plan that allows businesses to offer a group insurance, a health insurance to their employees without it costing them exorbitant amounts of money, and also without them being subject to wild fluctuations year to year. So it's a really wonderful tool to help with that employee attraction retention piece.
So I'm really impressed with what the Chamber does, both on a local level and, as you mentioned, on a national level as well. Yeah. And just want to isolate one thing you mentioned, talking about the Small Business Week Awards and about the Annual General Meeting Awards as well. You mentioned the Jack Hartery Lifetime Achievement Award. And just as a reminder for our viewers, I mean, Jack Hartery was involved at the highest levels at the former Stora Enso
Right.
mill, now of course Port Hawkesbury Paper. So why do you feel that he represents a great legacy and a great name to carry on for the winners of these Lifetime Achievement Awards?
Right. So, so Jack Hartery's reputation as a leader in the business community spans the entire province. And when his name is mentioned, people associate him with this region's largest employer. And he was in large part responsible for the retrofit that in reality is probably the reason that we still have a highly functioning, efficient, responsible paper mill operating in this community. And so his legacy is one that we're benefiting from every day in our communities. And so years ago, the powers that be at the Chamber were wise enough to honor his memory and create a Lifetime Achievement Award in business in his name. And to this day, his wife Shirley continues to be a great champion of the Chamber, and we value her wisdom, and we have valued his legacy very much.
Well, I've noticed as well within these awards, it's not just business owners that get honored.
That's
because
right.
you folks have the Kevin Beaton Heart of the Community
That's
Award
right.
as well,
Yeah.
and celebrate as well people like volunteers, people who are involved in customer service.
That's right.
So, is it the Chamber's hope to be able to recognize not just those that are signing the checks and sitting in the front offices, but also those who are putting themselves out there to make our community better?
Absolutely. We have awards for outstanding customer service. We have awards for Rising Star New Businesses. We have awards for Safety Champion. So if you know of someone who is taking safety very seriously and championing that in the workplace, then there's an opportunity to recognize them. So it's really about not just recognizing businesses, but also recognizing those individuals who help make our businesses stronger and better, right?
I wanted to pick up on an event that you mentioned just a couple of moments ago, the State of the Straight area, and that's happening on March the 11th at the Port Hawkesbury Civic Centre, a half-day event. I've been to a couple of these before. Without tipping your hat on anything that we might be hearing on that day, can you give us a sense of what you feel the state of the Straight area economy is? How is the business community doing locally?
Yeah, well, I think there are, of course, there are challenges. We've got a lot of industry in this region that are national and international in terms of their ownership and in terms of their reach. So there's global influences that are always going to be outside of our control that have an impact on industry here. One of the things that we're kind of excited about with the Chamber and with our industry partners is the work we're doing on our port development file right now. We've got a marketing project underway that is really going to capture the essence and the value proposition that exists, particularly along the Strait of Canso within that 5-kilometer zone on either side. And that project is it's an industry-led project. It's part of an overall initiative to start to capitalize more effectively on what is our region's probably greatest asset, which is that deepwater ice-free port. But in terms of the broader region across rural Cape Breton and northern Nova Scotia, we're seeing some really bright spots. If you look at the development that's happening in the village of Inverness, the commercial activity that's going on there, it's just phenomenal. And I will say, a lot of it being driven by women lately. I've been up there with the grand opening scissors on a number of occasions, and a lot of times you're going to see the faces of women in those pictures. There just seems to be an interest in small businesses starting up, and obviously a lot of it is driven by the fantastic success of Cabot Links, and when we look at the new Route 19 facility, it's just there's some remarkable things happening in that small little community. And if you look at a place like St. Peter's as well, so much commercial activity being driven by festivals and experience planning, and they're shooting high there right now, and hoping to one day even see cruise ships coming into that national National Historic Site. So we're really excited about the future. Driving through Arishat right now, when you look at the beautiful streetscape improvements that are going on, the lampposts there, and Destination Reeve Street in Port Hawkesbury, and these projects make a huge difference to the business community, because what it does is it sends a message that we're open for business and that we're ready for investment. And it's, kudos to all of the organizations who are involved in making those things happen. It's really exciting to see.
And in addition to all those communities that a lot of our viewers are familiar with, the Strait Area Chamber of Commerce just had a new beginning by welcoming Victoria County into the mix. Can you tell us a little bit about how that all came about and why you folks are excited to have Victoria on board?
Yeah, well, we're more than excited. I mean, it's for many years we've had business members in Victoria County, and as a result, we've been trying to bring more and more content to that community. We just recently, as I mentioned, hosted FemPower there, but prior to that, we've partnered on initiatives like co-creating a healthy work environment with their Home Support Services Agency. We've held other women's leadership accessibility sessions there, and what's happening, I think, is a recognition that the Chamber is able to deliver value to these communities that are outside of our kind of main commercial center or main commercial region, and I think we're really pleased to be able to do that, and we're seeing that also in places like Inverness and Shettycamp. So I think it's one of the reasons that our membership is growing so healthily. It's because we're making sure to get out of our office and beyond the four walls of the building to deliver really valuable programming. So it's really nice to see that Victoria County is on the upswing, and there's so much potential in that region for development. It's really exciting.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. I wanted to ask you about the evolution of the business community in the Strait of Canso, and the sense I've gotten over the years is that, as opposed to, say, the 80s and the early 90s, when the region might have been hoping for the next big mega project to come around, or for the next big franchise to come in and set out an outlet in Port Hawkesbury or in Richmond County. It seems that more individual business owners are saying, you know what, we're not going to wait for that. We're going to make our own investment. We're going to employ people, and we're going to get started and contribute to the business community that way. Do you get the sense that that's been the case in the 5 years that you've been the executive director for the Chamber?
Well, certainly I get the sense that optimism is building. You can see it in the investments that are being made. You can hear it in the way that people are talking about their businesses. There's no question there's still huge opportunity for mega projects to be landing here, and that is something that we will always support and continue to encourage, and continue to encourage government also to support. But like you say, in the meantime, there are other opportunities that have come to the forefront. Our tourism, economy continues to be on the upswing, and certainly I see that as a huge opportunity here in Richmond County in particular, but all across northern Nova Scotia. There are more and more people who are recognizing that entrepreneurship and business ownership and investment is a viable option for them in terms of making a living here, making a good living here.
Now, I did want to ask this question. This is a bittersweet time for you as the executive director of the Strait Area Chamber of Commerce, because those days are starting to wind down, and you've accepted a new position with the Nova Scotia Community College. Can you tell us a little bit about what exactly you'll be doing and why you're excited to be starting over at this operation that has meant so much to the Strait and to the province in general?
Right. It is definitely a bittersweet moment. The Chamber is a really great place to be. I love the fact that it is not government run. It's an independent association of businesses, and there's so much power and strength in numbers, and it's a really important organization. And I have had the great pleasure of meeting so many people from across all of Cape Breton Island and the northern mainland of Nova Scotia, really amazing people who are making a difference every day in their communities, who are employing people, like you said, whether it's 2 people, whether it's 20 people. And a lot of them have become my friends, so I will be forever grateful for that. I'll take those relationships and I'll keep them close to me for forever. But yeah, no, an opportunity has come up with the community college, which is a fantastic organization. And so I'll be kind of working between both of those campuses on Cape Breton Island, both Marconi and the Strait Area campus. And I'll be working with businesses to help develop solutions, to meet their training needs and skills development, related to skills development. So it's an exciting thing for me to be able to take that experience of the Chamber and those relationships and the knowledge that I have of those businesses now and bring that with me to the community college to make even greater impact. So I'm really excited about it. The community college, particularly in this region, it's an exciting place to be. Cape Breton Island is fortunate to be home to the Nautical Institute. The Strait Area campus has probably some 700 students attending. There's so much opportunity for growth there, and just fantastic programming, fantastic equipment, and the Marconi campus, obviously, facing this wonderful opportunity of the move to the waterfront. It's just a really exciting time to be coming on board with the Nova Scotia Community College. So I feel very fortunate.
Well, it's wonderful to see you getting this opportunity. And just to wrap up, you've talked a little bit about some of the relationships you've been able to develop with business owners and with the general business community all over the region, businesses of every size, large, small, and medium. What do you think you will actually miss the most about not being as directly involved with the Chamber as you are right now? What do you take away from that experience?
I think the thing I'll miss the most are the everyday conversations with businesses that are, they're calling looking for either a solution to a challenge they're facing or to bounce an idea off. I will miss that day in, day out kind of connection, but I'm not convinced I'm not gonna still have it, because I'll just find another way to get to that, right? So the conversations will be just maybe different, but I think the team at the Chamber too, and the partnerships that we've developed, it's going to be definitely something that I miss. But I'm just really lucky to be able to still tap into that team and in this new role. So they're not rid of me that easily.
Well, I hope they're not going to be rid of you that easily. We have really appreciated your work on behalf of the business community in this region, and
thank you.
We've really appreciated you coming in today to talk a bit about what this has all meant to you and looking to the future, both to yourself and for the business community. So thank you so much for joining us on Tallil 24/7.
Thank you.
All right, it's my pleasure. Amanda Mumberket is the outgoing Executive Director of the Strait Area Chamber of Commerce. We'd like to thank her again for coming in. Stay tuned for more Tallil 24/7. Concerns about aging water and sewer infrastructure throughout Richmond County came up at last week's regular monthly meeting of Richmond Municipal Council in Arishat. It all began when the Director of Public Works, Chris Boudreau, brought up some concerns about the Louisdale sewage treatment plant. Here in this clip, you'll hear him outlining exactly what's going on and why it seems that some repairs or an outright replacement of the plant's roof will be needed in short order.
It was reported by staff that there were a number of leaks this winter, starting a little earlier in the winter, and upon closer inspection by our staff, they felt that there were issues with the membrane on the roof, so we called in a roofing company to do a proper assessment. And what the roofing company found was that the rubber membrane, or the EPDM membrane, had detached from the substrate, or what it's supposed to be adhered to. So it was waving in the wind, I guess, if you can picture it. And because of that, it detached from the roof drains, and we have significant water ingress into the plant. So based on their inspection, they gave us two options. One was to replace the roof. Another was to perform a repair. Now, they did mention this type of roofing is good for, we'll say, 25 to 35 years. We're only at the 25-year mark, and the membrane itself is in decent condition. But because it's delaminated from the substrate, repairs would be quite expensive.
And here's Boudreau explaining what will be involved and also how much they're expected to cost.
They're suggesting a repair could be in the order of $25,000 to $30,000 using some contingency, and the repair would consist of placing the rubber membrane where it goes, reconnecting it to the roof drains, and then putting ballast on top to stop the wind from picking it up. And the ballast is essentially stones. So that's the first option. The second option is a replacement, and with contingency, we're suggesting a budget of approximately $60,000. Now, given the age of the roof, the contractor does not recommend repairing it. Putting ballast on the roof, while it would be a temporary solution, would make future repairs much more costly, and it would also make future replacement more costly. So, given the age and the fact we're nearing end of life, we recommend replacement.
At the request of council, Boudreau is going to take another look at the possible costs involved and how the county could actually pay for those costs, and bring those back to a meeting of the council that would be held no later than the end of March. In the meantime, Deputy Warden Alvin Martel is concerned that there could be a situation involving aging infrastructure and the need to pay for repairs or replacement all across the county, not just in Lewisdale.
Yeah, I guess tonight is an example of what we've been talking about around the council table for quite a while. We talked about the aging infrastructure we have here in Richmond County, and I think that we're going to have to start looking at budgeting monies for aging infrastructure, because this is only a beginning of what's going to happen. I mean, you're talking about a roof that's 25 years old, 30 years old, needs to be replaced. So that's just going to be ongoing, because the infrastructure here that's already in the ground, it's pretty old.
Following the council meeting, Richmond Warden Brian Marchand agreed with Martel's assessment that there could be some other infrastructure issues happening across the county.
I know there's some work to be done on some pumping stations and the system in Petit de Gras and Ilmadam as well. And I believe our Public Works Director has put some application in to get some funding for doing some assessments of that.
Warden Marchand and the rest of council agree that by giving a timeline to the end of March for Boudreau and his public works staff to do their work, they should be able to make a decision on replacement or repair of the roof for the Lewisdale sewage treatment plant immediately, and not have to wait until the final budget process is complete later this spring. In Arishat, for Telil 24/7, I'm Adam Cook. Many of you in the viewing audience know what it's like when a school closes down in your community or a neighboring community. It can sometimes be difficult for the people living in that area to be able to compensate for the loss of so many students and families, but as well to try to figure out what to do with that building once it reverts back to municipal ownership and stops being a school. Well, we're going to take you now to the town of Mulgrave, where there have been some developments in that regard over the past 3 years, and where a former school building can now become a community gathering place that offers many services for the town and for the surrounding communities. Take a look.
In 2016, the Strait Regional School Board voted to close Mulgrave Memorial Education Centre. However, the pleas of community members convinced school board members to be able to leave the school open for one more year in the hopes that an economic turnaround for Mulgrave and the surrounding communities would lure new families and new students into the school system here. That economic turnaround didn't happen, so in June 2017, the Mulgrave Memorial Education Centre building held its last set of classes, and the school structure itself became the property of the town of Mulgrave. However, shortly after that, Mulgrave officials joined forces with a new community association to help make the school building a going concern for years to come. Now, as you can see behind me, there's no such thing as Mulgrave Memorial Education Centre anymore. But since this building stopped being a school in 2017, town officials have been working with a community group to try to make this building a real community gathering space, as well as a successful spot for office space rental. The group is called MARA. That's short for Mulgrave and Area Revitalization Association. And they've had some success in getting a couple of clients in here to rent office space. The town of Mulgrave holds its own municipal meetings here. And as well, the Guysborough County Business Development Corporation has an office in this building too. And there have been a lot of different public events involving everything from gymnasium rentals to theater society performances. The Guysborough Players have had 2 successful dinner theaters here. They're planning a 3rd for later this year. And the Mulgrave Marina Market has held its events here when it's raining too hard to hold its summertime events outside. And Mayor Ralph Hadley says that Mara has been able to raise over $16,000 in the past 3 years, being able to pay back the town for an initial expense of $5,200 just to be able to do some minor refurbishments and be able to set things up for various items involving computers as well.
And it's not just office rentals and public events that are going to keep the former Mulgrave School building humming over the next little while. There's going to be a new cafe opened up to serve coffee, tea, and lunch options of all sorts, and it's going to be operated by Tanya Snow. While Snow is a town councillor for Mulgrave, she won't be using town resources to set up Scotia Cafe. And after sourcing various food handling equipment all the way around Cape Breton and northeastern Nova Scotia, she expects to be able to have the cafe up and running within the coming weeks.
And as far as town officials here are concerned, there are even more opportunities coming to work with Mara to bring new tenants and new activities to the former school building. According to Mayor Hadley, the town has just been approved for a grant from the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency. This money will help the town hire a consulting firm based in Newfoundland to review the former school building and help see how it can best attract new tenants and keep having community activities. And as far as Mayor Hadley is concerned, that should result in even more tenancies being taken up in the former school building by this time next year, and a beehive of activity that we haven't seen since the school was last active 3 years ago as an education facility. In Mulgrave, for Telil 24/7, I'm Adam Cook.
And we are pleased to welcome back Amanda Mumberket, the Executive Director of the Strait Area Chamber of Commerce, as she's going to play our Telil 24/7 game, the Fast Five. Amanda, are you all ready for this?
I'm ready to go.
All right, 5 questions. Give the first answer that comes to your brain.
Okay.
In 3, 2, 1, question number 1, Coke or Pepsi?
Oh, Pepsi.
Tea or coffee?
Gallons of tea.
Oh, gallons of tea. Spoken like a true Cape Bretoner. I like it, I like it. Favorite childhood book?
Anne of Green Gables.
Ah, I thought you might
Definitely.
say that. Yes, yes. Last movie you saw?
1917.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Great work
really
at the
good.
Oscars as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. And if you could be an animal for one day, what animal would that be?
I would be my dog Rudy.
Oh.
Because he was spoiled.
Aha! So a little turnabout is fair play
Right.
then. Maybe Rudy can spoil you from now on. There we are. Yeah, see, that was easy. That's great.
Easy
Thanks,
peasy.
Amanda.
All right,
Right
thank
on.
you.
Amanda Mumberket joining us for the Fast Five on Telil 24/7. We'll have more of the show coming up very soon. And that wraps up another edition of Telil 24/7. We hope you've enjoyed what you've seen in the last little while and maybe even learned a thing or two. As always, if you have any suggestions for stories or for interviews that we could do on Telil 24/7, or you'd just like to comment on what we've been airing so far, there are many ways that you can get in touch with us. You can contact me directly. My email address is adam@telil.tv. You can phone Telil itself, and you can call the station at area code 902-226-1928. And you can leave comments under any of the photos or videos that we post on our social media channels. You can find Telil on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. For now, I'm Adam Cook. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let's come back here again next Monday night for another edition of Telil 24/7. Until then, have a great week, and we'll see you very soon.